Okay. If you wouldn't mind, would you describe yourself and a little bit about your family, education, and work background?
Sure. My name's Dana Burgess, and I'm a choreographer, specifically the Smithsonian's first ever choreographer in residence, and I run the contemporary dance company of Washington, D.C., the premier one, and I started that 26 years ago.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then would you mind describing your relationship to the founding and the growth of the Asian American Studies program
Sure.
at the University of Maryland? And if you could be as specific with dates, names, sort of details as possible.
Let me see, so that would be... I guess it would be in 1999. Oh, it could be 98. I think it's the 1998-99 year. I was asked to teach an Asian American course through the medium of dance. So I designed a course, and University of Maryland put it on the books, and it was like a really wonderful success because there were certain students in the class, such as Christina Lagdameo, who was very, very interested in, along with the faculty, pushing an Asian American Studies program through at the University of Maryland. So it was this window of opportunity, and to have that happen. And what was so great about it was that the students were so engaged in like taking on movement and trying theatrical approaches to looking at history and looking at personal storytelling.
Right.
So that was the course I taught.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, could you paint a picture of sort of what it was like to be on campus at the time? Because, now it's gonna be very different compared to 20 years ago.
So, well, I lived in the heart of Washington, D.C. back then, so it actually took me a really long time to take the metro all the way up and then take a shuttle, to the campus. And so I've been, of course, to the university several times since, and now there's like the big performing arts center, etc. But really, that didn't exist back then. There was I think it was named the Dorothy Madden Dance Studio, and it was like a little old gymnasium that the dance classes were taught out of.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, would you mind describing in detail maybe 2 or 3 events relating to the founding and the growth of the Asian American Studies program that you have personally witnessed and which may have made a lasting impact on you as a person?
Well, I remember that the final project for the course that I was teaching in 98-99 was really wonderful because it aligned with personal stories that were told and performed and moved through the perspective of different major historical events which impacted Asian American immigration, Asian American identity within the United States. And each student really aligned something that was personal in their own family history with an event in time on the timeline.
Right.
And then it was like performed collectively, so it was really, I think, a beautiful, beautiful event, and they made it public, so that was great. I think one thing that's really important in looking at the APIA, consciousness is that what has to happen is that we look at how the body is perceived. That's so important. Right. And to be able to find a common language through movement about the body and about our histories is really important. And so that was something that for me, before that moment, like I sort of thought that was true, but I hadn't taught a class like that.
Right.
And at that moment, it was like my aha moment, like, yes, this is so important, this is what it's about.
So you said in this piece that the students sort of connected parts of their own lives into the piece. Did that maybe make you think about anything within your own history or culture?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think a lot about the way that I grew up and then the time period I grew up in and how things are different and how things remain the same. It's like, and the United States is so vast also that as is the Asian immigration experience to America and the Asian American experience, that it's just so diverse, you know, and so I think a lot about that too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looking back over the years, do you think there's anything that you may have done differently? You know, they say hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I was just really, really happy with those, you know, students and how the course turned out. And it was interesting, like the other day, this is like about 6 months ago, I bumped into one of the other original students in that class and had a great conversation about it. And he said, you know, I only took that one dance class, but it's like changed my life in looking at performance. So that was great. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's really nice. I'm just gonna grab this. Yeah.
This tea is fantastic.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Let's see. Might you be able to describe how the founding and growth of Asian American Studies has affected you personally, both in your career and maybe in your private family life?
Well, I think that I've always thought about the fact that the University of Maryland was able to mobilize an Asian American Studies program, and that it was accepted by the university and moved forward, and they understood that the constituents needed to have that opportunity to have that curriculum built into the larger university perspective, right?
Right.
And I've been at a lot of other universities where that isn't understood, where sometimes the conversation is at a lower level, in that people are thinking Asian history, Asian culture, Asian business classes, but they're not really understanding why, if there's African American studies or Latinx studies, that there should be Asian American studies.
Right.
Like they just don't get there, you know.
I see.
Because maybe their student populations they're looking at their student populations as highly exchange student or like foreign student oriented, and that student's going to return to, you know, country of origin. So, but they're not thinking about how Asian American classes would be really wonderful for all of those students. So the way they're counting numbers for justification is off.
It's a little off. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Now, you said that University of Maryland was a little more understanding, I guess, and has been able to mobilize this sort of Asian American Studies program. Do you have any vivid memories of sort of the protests that the students and some faculty members went through to...
I remember a lot of signatures being collected. It was like, you know, there were these massive times of signatures, you know, but in terms of the actual like demonstrations or anything, like I don't really recall that. I don't like personally recall that. Yeah. I knew things were going on.
Yeah.
But also because I was at the campus like twice a week for that one class, it was a little different than being engaged there, you know, in a even more of a part-time way, because I was like an adjunct faculty.
Let's see. And then would you mind describing your dreams for Asian American Studies when you were on campus, and how Asian American Studies has realized or maybe fallen short of those dreams that you had over the years? And if they were not met, then how could they possibly try and move to meet them now?
Well, I think that when we look at the American tapestry in general and how it's changing and it needs to change and affect our curriculums, the question to me is always, can we change fast enough to upkeep with the American landscape, right? Who are really in need of being represented within the curriculum. And that's always the thing that I think about,
Right.
because universities often move at a slow pace, and there are these windows of opportunity, like the wonderful window that opened up for the Asian American Studies program, but those are very rare because we're really looking at often a lifetime before a major curricular change can occur.
Right.
And so that means that I would hope for all universities, not just University of Maryland, but that the way that budgets are looked at by provosts in terms of instilling a contemporary forward-thinking curriculum could be maybe slightly restructured in order to make sure that that occurs.
Maybe a bit more importance on sort of looking at the landscape and then making changes rather than just...
Right, and then structurally what would allow for that?
Right.
Like
so
how
like
many...
the adaptability within the curriculum.
Adaptability of visiting, professors, adaptability of curriculum, etc. Yeah, and that's always a challenge, whether it's
Right.
about Asian American Studies or it's about, creative writing, or if it's
Right.
about physics, it's always going to be a real quandary. Yeah.
Let's see, the last part is looking into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Should we talk more about other things? Do you think this is enough?
I feel like it should be enough. Did you hit all the points on the...
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
I mean, I have specifically about Asian American Studies, not really.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see, this part says, end the interview speaking directly into the camera, addressing future generations of Asian American Studies students, summarize in just a minute your dreams for them and any lessons you have learned since your days affiliated with Asian American Studies. Sort of like a, hey, go get them, new generation sort of thing.
Right.
And then, just take your time. We can just edit it to take that one part.
Oh, that's great, yeah. Because
I love that.
It,
Yeah, I love
that. That's great. Let's see.
I'm trying to hold my cough.
Oh no, it's fine. I guess my hopes and dreams for the students of the Asian American Studies program at the University of Maryland is that you all become future leaders who bring more attention and more understanding to the diversity of the Asian American experience and really celebrate what our American landscape is and how we're constantly changing within that tapestry, so making available to others in an empathetic way and an empathetic voice and an empathetic ear what we can do to invite people into this understanding of the APIA perspective. Maybe something like that.
Fantastic.
That was great.
Yeah, thanks for that. Shall we just cut it now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this what I press?
Yeah.